making a movie, you direct, you produce, you have to like do everything. Like whenever we have worked on a project together, it's insane. How do you go about putting the project together and making it happen?
There's a number of different ways you can go about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that, if you're the filmmaker that's just starting and you don't have too many resources, you kind of want to take it all on your own. But by doing that, especially as someone that's starting off, you'll learn that that's the most incorrect way of doing it.
So many people start, and almost like when you start, you need to do everything on your own, so you learn. But then there's this weird in between. I think whoever's watching the podcast, probably they have done a few things, they're interested in like either leveling up or doing a bigger project. When did you found out, okay, if I add more people to this, it gets better?
When I initially started, small videos, very short, lots of short form content that didn't really require much, but I wasn't getting exactly the results or producing the things that I wanted to produce, so to speak. So after I took a couple classes and I understood, that there's a lighting team, there's a grip team, there's gaffers, there's so many different departments that go into every single film that is made in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And then there's the independent route, which could be a little more extreme, where you have less soldiers out in the field that can, man their stations. So then you have people that have to be kind of like multi-faceted, kind of work like a Swiss Army knife, where they can tap into different departments, and so
do you think it's good to stay there in that space where you're doing a bunch of things all at once?
It's good when you're starting. So that's the beauty of when you're starting. You kind of like, you have that natural curiosity and that desire to learn and to like learn well, right? Because one is to learn and two is to learn well, right? So by failing multiple times, by not getting the lighting right, by not getting audio, by forgetting to press record,
by deleting a card,
by deleting, accidentally formatting an SD card, you learn these very, very difficult but valuable lessons.
Yeah.
And so that's the beauty of being a beginner in a space that you want to master, right? Because what better way to become a master than to just fail at everything that you can possibly fail at when it comes to making a film? That's kind of my semi like take on what it takes to make a film. Is like, you got to dive into it and be okay with failing, and two is maybe if you really have the power to make something powerful, then you got to put the team together. You got to put a good team together, and I think that's one of the things that I've learned more and more being in LA. I come from a place where I had all the resources, I had friends that would help me out on projects and things like that, but at the same time I felt limited because they weren't necessarily friends I could rely on all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm about friends that hit me up to make sure I'm doing good, but like if, because I do that. Mm-hmm. But if I do that and I don't get that back, I don't really consider that my friend. So that's a big part of why I also moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, just was to find a new circle, to establish a new foundation. Because while I had great things and great circles and lovely people that I've worked with, I also had people that I thought were great working with, but in the end, it was nothing. So
yeah. Do you find that it's difficult separating work and friendship and having that work out? Because a lot of the times it's awesome to work with friends, but at the same time it could cause problems, because when you're working with friends, it's a different dynamic. Especially film is something that people don't realize, like going into. There's a hierarchy and things have to be done a certain way. And I think there's the risk when you work a lot with friends, it could be difficult. Because you have different positions and different projects, people are doing different things. So
for sure.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Working with friends, it's a double-edged sword. It's beautiful, but it can also be very painful, right? The beauty of it is, at least in my experience, when I'm working with close friends, whether it's you or some of my college buddies, like, it's all passion. It's all love. There's like a desire to bring something beautiful to life. There is that. But then there's the other side where, as a director, you want to be in control of things. As a cinematographer, you want to be in control of things. So you have to be able to adapt to the different scenarios that are presented on set. Right. And I think that's an area that when you're new, it's difficult. It's difficult to navigate because you want to, make sure you're doing your job, but also not stepping on anyone's toes or overstepping, whatever you want to call it. So I think that's one thing that over the years, especially more recently, now that I'm in LA and doing this thing full time, or at least more so than I was in Jersey, is that it's just that we have to be able to be empathetic to the vision, right? Because at the end of the day, if I'm just on set as a crew member, there's someone who has the lead. He's got the vision. He knows the story. He knows what at the end of the day what he wants. Me, I can only give so much, input, and so that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it takes being a little humble and just realizing that this isn't my project, but I'm here to support and that it takes a lot sometimes, especially when you're hungry. You want to like show the people that you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
but at the same time,
Or when you're working under someone that is less qualified, or like
or
they don't got
that,
their shit
yeah.
together, and you're like, you have that fire in you. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
that happened to me early on when
Mm,
I went to film school in Tennessee, and I did a few projects where I was the cinematographer
mm,
and I was helping someone else do their project. And like after that, I was like, never again. Like, I think it goes also with my personality,
mm,
because I'm so like type A,
yeah,
that
yeah,
I want to like do my own thing.
fair.
But I have learned how to work in teams. Like, we work in a team now, where
Mm-hmm.
like we work at Impact Theory. We have
Mm,
so many people, and there are some times where I'm just editing a project for someone else,
mm,
or I'm going in to shoot, and then someone else is gonna edit it,
mm,
and they are gonna have different ideas, and
yep.
they are working under me, or like I'm doing something and you're taking the lead on, and I'm just giving you notes, and I'm helping, but I'm not the one in charge. So I think, like you said, coming to LA and working with more people, you kind of have to learn those things. So for you, how do you decide between director versus cinematographer? I feel like you and I talk about this all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Take that on.
It's an ongoing conversation that I think we'll have probably until we die. Because as filmmakers, it's that desire to be in control and like control every composition, every shot composition, every frame. There's just that desire to like, it's your baby. You gotta take care of it. You gotta give it milk when it's crying. You gotta carry it when it wants to be carried. and
Yeah.
and so as a cinematographer, which is like essentially how I got into film, is my cousin, he's the reason that I got into film. He's a cinematographer, and I loved what he would kind of make casually at home with his family for his school projects and things like that. And so the love for the camera came from that, but then came the love of storytelling. And when you're telling stories as a director, you gotta be 100%, maybe not 100%, but you have to control the story as much as you can so that you tell it authentically, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a storyteller, as a director, I focus more on making sure that there's the right chemistry on set, making sure that the actors feel empowered when they tell these stories, so that when they start to not read the script, but when they start to perform, it's like very natural, right? It's not just something for the screen. It's like it's I mean, to make things short, the kind of content I want to make is like nonfiction, realistic films that tell real powerful stories that otherwise wouldn't be told, right? Kind of shining light on the untold story, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. As a cinematographer, I have an idea of how I want to shoot it, but I think as a director, I have a better idea, better holistic picture of what my end product should be, right? And at least in most cases, it's kind of telling that superhuman story. So that's how I kind of grew out of being just a DP, a camera person.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's how I was able to kind of draw the line, is to just have a little more control.
Yeah,
Mm.
control. Yeah,
Control.
I mean, you're right. Is there are pros and cons, because being a
Yeah.
DP, I think the beauty of it is you get to do more projects, so you get to
Mm.
play more,
Mm.
because it takes less time and less energy, and you show up close to shooting, and then you shoot it, and then you go home. You don't have to be there through the edit. But directing, there's this thing about it, man. Like it's crazy. So tell me, when we did the music video that we shot for your brother, how was that experience? Was that like your biggest crew and kind of biggest project as far as music videos go?
Yeah, as far as music videos goes, yeah, that was definitely my biggest crew. I mean, it ended up being like 15 of us on set. We had my brother, the talent, and then everyone else was pretty much crew. Had some family that drove down from San Francisco to support, which is another beautiful thing of the filmmaking, is you can bring your family in, right? And then just have a good time. That music video, I'd say, is it would have to probably be the most like high like value production project I've had to date. And just comparing that to the other music video projects I've done before, because pretty much every other music video I did it alone. I didn't have a crew. I set up lighting, I set up my frame, to, directed the artist to perform in such way. I 100% prefer working with a team. It saves me so much time. Yes, it might cost you some money.
Yeah.
There is a world where your friends won't charge you. There is that world. But I'm not the type of person that would just, or at least I try not to be the type of person that just takes advantage of my friends. If I could throw you some gas money at minimum, I'm going to throw you some gas money.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it comes down to finding that balance between the friends that you consider family that will actually work with you at $0 for $0, and then you have the friends that they want to work with you, but they do need the money. I mean, it's just realistic,
Well, so let's talk about that. So I think it's something that we don't talk enough when we're talking about film and all of that. So how do we make money? So since you came here to LA, like if we try to make it as realistic as possible, so people thinking of moving to LA, how do you make money? How we don't have to talk specific like rates or anything like that, because that changes with projects and all of that. But how is that dynamic working? What have you learned so far? Like how has that been?
I love this question. As a filmmaker, as a new filmmaker in LA, you either come here with a reputation, or you don't come here with anything at all. You're here to build, right? If you're that person that's here to build, you got to be okay with not taking money at first. I mean, I could be wrong. Everyone's journey is different. The way I did it, the way I was able to make this work is I had 2 unpaid internships and I was doing Postmates, right? Even though I was somewhat of an established filmmaker on the East Coast, the people knew, at least like people that I did projects for, they knew what I was capable of. I knew what I was capable of. I had great resources, but I wasn't necessarily known. I didn't necessarily had the reputation. I didn't have the reputation I wanted to have in order to come here and start to try to charge, 10, 20, 30,000 per project. Do I believe I deserve it? Yeah, I do. I believe I could produce that kind of quality. I produce that kind of quality. But again, because people don't know me, I'm starting from scratch. So I did 2 unpaid internships. I worked for 3+ studios initially, and then I also worked for a Twitch gamer. And then to make money, I did Postmates. That was my 3rd job, right? I thought I didn't have to. I felt like I was coming to LA with a lot of value, with a lot of knowledge. Obviously, the pandemic did not help, but with the pandemic aside, that was my biggest takeaway. Was just to be in a new city and to know that I have to start from scratch. That was a huge wake-up call. But once I was able to understand that and just kind of act, which in this case, that's what you got to do. You just got to act. You got to put yourself out there. Free gigs, fuck it, do it. It's what it takes to come out to LA and be successful. Because I've been here now almost 3 years, and I'm thankful that how we met was through my barber, my first barber in LA.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, dude, I just moved to LA. I'm a filmmaker. I don't know too many people. One is I need to have a barber that I can rely on. Go-to person. Like, I was showing them mad love. I'm like, that's who I am.
So you wanted to look fresh.
I wanted to look fresh. I wanted to look fresh, and like I just wanted him to know my stories, so I have someone that I can talk to at least. Like, barbershops is like therapy sessions sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they can be just straight chaos.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful, at least in LA, the barbers I've met they've been like guides, you know. And so he was like, "Yo, I have someone I'm gonna link you up with. Hit him up on Instagram. Like, I cut his hair, you know. He's a Cuban dude, real good dude." I'm like, "Word, all right." So I added you on Instagram at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't know you, but I added you on Instagram, and then I ended up reaching out to you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yo, Axel, what's up, bro? My name is G. I just moved out to LA. I'm finishing up this documentary right now, but like I don't know too many film people out here. You know, we'd love to, you know, grab a coffee." And what happened? It's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
We ended up meeting up,
Yeah, we
talked
worked on
film.
something. I think you helped me on a. We're doing a podcast for someone, and you helped me shoot that. I think that was the first gig.
That was the first gig we did together.
Yeah, that I brought you on for that, and then I think we did one other thing, and then when the opportunity came for Impact Theory, you were working with the streaming company.
With the streaming company, yep,
Yeah, and I was like, hey, like I need
Yeah.
people because that's the way it happens, and
That was a 2-year gap. From the
Yeah.
moment I met you to the moment you offered me this opportunity, that's a 2-year gap.
yeah,
That's like a very important detail that y'all just keep in mind, that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. As cheesy as that is, it's the definition of what this journey as an artist, as a filmmaker is. So
no, that's amazing. Like that's super spot on what you're saying. It's a long-term career life building thing, and again, I think I was talking to someone and I was saying, you know, I want young kids, young filmmakers to understand it takes a very long time. And the things that you see on screen and the success path that you see people take, it's not a 6 months to 2 year like sprint. You're sprinting the whole time, but it's a marathon. So your actions have to be those of a sprinter. Your patience has to be that one of a marathon
beautiful,
runner.
absolutely.
And it works, man. It works because like I've been like the other day I was talking to someone and they asked me, "Oh, how long have you been like?" I went to meet this photographer, Tyler Shields, incredible photographer. I went with my friend Peter Hurley. We're gonna do this shoot, and Tyler is like probably one of the most outstanding art photographers in the world, and he's also a filmmaker, and he's a great guy. So he's like, "Oh, how long have you been like doing camera and stuff?" And then I stopped to think about it, and it's been about 18 years that I have been like working with cameras and like editing and like doing all of that. And I'm not even getting started with my career and the things that I want to do. And it just takes a long time.
It does.
And the sooner you get here and start doing what you were saying of the actions, the better.
The better.
Because
Absolutely.
sometimes we think that we need to do something to be ready to go after the thing that we want to do. And you're just never gonna feel ready enough.
Yeah.
And the only way to get ready is to like go and get ready,
And
like
do
doing
the
it.
thing, absolutely.
So you came to LA, leaving family and everything in the East Coast. Now that you're here, what do you think is the whole building of a like? Everyone says, "Oh, you have to build your tribe and da da da." Like, how does that work for you, and what would you recommend people do to build that?
Yeah, this is one of those again very tricky situations, which depending on the type of person you are, this may be limiting. This may be something that holds you back or slows you down, doesn't allow you to advance at the pace that you can. But essentially, I'm lucky enough where I moved to LA, but I also had contacts here. You know, I have friends that I went to school with, friends that I trust, friends that I know that I will eventually get to work with on a more full-time basis. So my tribe, the people that I trust more so than the people that I've met here are people that we have history, you know, as friends. Finding that is not hard. I'd say it's hard if you're an introvert, but if you're an extrovert, which I think this industry kind of requires you to be, depending on what department you are, right? Some don't. That's not true for everybody. But as a director, as a cinematographer, if you want to be that guy, yeah, you have to be a people's person. You gotta be a person that people want to work with, right? Because I've worked with directors and cinematographers that, quite honestly, I hope I never work with them again. And they're phenomenal, talented, some of the best, but they treat people like shit on set. And sure, I mean, and I think I'm talking specifically to one project I was on. It was like my first project here in LA. Since I got to LA, I was supposed to be the DP on it. Someone else ended up getting the job, but I still ended up working on the film on set as a second AC. Now this DP is used to working with her ACs, right? So she speaks to them very specifically. She's got the whole dynamic flow the way she likes it. So having me on set, she thought I couldn't like hang. So at least like the first 2 days it was horrible. It was like she was treating me like shit. By the end of the shoot, by the end of the third day, she was giving me hella love, hella praise, like thanking me for her hard work, that she was impressed. Um and so in the end, people loved the work ethic I was putting in, but at the same time I'm like, that's someone I'm never gonna work with again. I don't care how talented you are. And I never want to be that DP. I never want to be that director to make me feel like that.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm being soft. Maybe I'm being sensitive. But how you feel on set is important.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference because everything is vibing with like the energy and all that. I think being able to manage energy and people's like emotions behind the camera is as important as being able to do that in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So let's talk cameras now.
Okay. My
So,
favorite
your
department.
favorite thing. So favorite camera ever that you have worked with.
Sheesh.
Why? And tell me about it.
Wow. Favorite camera I've ever worked with? I think it would have to be the Alexa Mini LF.
Yeah.
That thing is a beast, bro. I mean, I'm fortunate enough that a friend of mine was able to purchase one, so I've got to shoot on it a fair amount.
Yeah.
You put some Cook lenses on that thing, bro.
Yeah, but you're not cheap.
Yeah.
You're talking like best camera in the world, best lenses in the world.
But as someone who started humbly, and I still have my first camera, which is the 5D Mark III. That's my picture camera.
Cool. That's a really fun camera.
Amazing camera. Canon, in my opinion, best picture, best color science camera there is. For film, I use the Sony A7S II for now. I haven't upgraded because one, money is tight, and two is I'm sure the A7S4 is going to come out at some point. So
yeah, and also depending on the project.
Depending on the project,
I have these cameras now that we're using for the podcast because of the podcast, and I shoot constantly.
Yeah.
But we have shot like whenever. What did we shoot? Like the music video I did before your music video
was Geo.
For Geo, that was the Blackmagic Ursa.
That was a Blackmagic Mini Ursa.
So that camera was awesome. Like I really like that camera.
Super
for the
camera.
price.
With the lenses we had, the lighting, and like that's another thing is like that camera, that setup, that camera setup wasn't that expensive.
No.
But like we made that music video look so good with the lighting. I mean, Scott Stevenson, shout out to the boy Scott.
Shout out to Scott.
I mean, that lighting setup for every scene was on point. And like one thing I do want to just remind all my fellow camera lovers, DPs, like aspiring DPs, is that camera matters only so much. Lighting is 100 times more important. But yeah, that's just like a note for all DPs and
cool. So we're going with the Alexa Mini with a little bit of Ursa in there. I'm a long time Red fanboy.
Okay.
I love me some Red.
Yeah, Mr. Red X.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair.
So I love the Red.
I like Red too, man. I like Red too.
But I don't know. Like right now, they're all like I'm in love with all of them. I love them all.
Yeah.
I love Canon. It's beautiful colors. I know those cameras like. But now I'm into Sony, like big time, and I'm loving the FX3. It looks amazing. The A7S III also like has some like beautiful color science. They got their colors right. Red has I think Red is my first love. They're very expensive. They're
very
finicky.
Expensive. They're finicky. The Kodak is a little weird because it's like it's got that red.
But it also has this thing. Like the other day, I was with my friend and we were shooting with the Epic. So we did a shoot we did a shoot with the guy who did Miss American Pie, the
Oh,
song.
okay, okay.
So we went and shot like a music video for him, and then we
Mm.
did a documentary piece for his new movie that is coming out about the song. And I
Mm.
was shooting with Scott too. He was doing
Mm.
all the lighting, and I had a Komodo
Mm.
and I had a Red Epic.
Mm.
And the Epic had this like character to it that I hadn't shot with that camera in a long time. That's an old camera.
That's it. It's old, but it's one of the first ones, right? So
Yeah,
it has that sensor they use. They don't, it's not the same sensor they're using on other.
it's not. It felt different.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It felt a little bit more character to it, and it felt very filmic and cinematic. So I don't know, man. I think I'm being more flexible because I used to be only like I would pick one camera and just stick to that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I'm a bit more flexible. I'm learning to enjoy the different characteristics of different cameras
Yeah, yeah.
and different images. So when you are putting together a setup, what is going through your head? What's your creative process?
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the type of project, but I mean, let's just talk music videos for now. It's all dependent on the mood, right? What is the song saying? Is it an upbeat song? Is it a happy song? Is it a sad song? Is it?
Okay, so let's get practical.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a romantic song, like the
Okay.
one that we were doing.
Yeah,
And you're setting up the scene, and it's like the performance for the main piece.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Okay, so the performance for the main piece for a song that's predominantly talks about good love, right? For me, that's a scene that has to be bright, has to be well lit. I don't imagine a dark, intimate scene, although it could work. Obviously, it could work. There's no wrong answer when it comes to music videos. At the end of the day, it's an art choice.
Yeah.
But at least my approach when it's when the theme is love, healthy love, I for sure want vibrant colors. I want, all the smiles. Make sure, that in terms of mood, in terms of chemistry, if there's one or if there's like a couple on screen, just making sure their chemistry is on point, from how they look at each other to how they like touch each other to how they're dressed to the distance between them. And then obviously it's the kind of shot composition, right? You got your wide shots, you got your mediums, you got your close-ups. Do we want to get the details of the hands, like caressing her shoulder, her face? Do you want to see the goosebumps rise as like, the person that's getting caressed, is like getting excited? Like, so this is kind of how I think about my scenes in terms of music videos, like just capturing all the emotion that adds to the story you're telling, right? Because ideally there is a story. If there isn't, maybe it's just a collection of beautiful shots. Sometimes there is no story. First, think about whether you want to tell a story or if you want it just to be
Just performance.
beautiful lighting, great angles. But it comes down to that essentially for me. And then if there is a story, then we figure out the lighting, right? So, but that's essentially is the approach.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about working with actors.
Okay.
What do you like about working with actors, and what's your creative process with them?
Yeah. This is a good question. I've had the chance to work with some actors that honestly have just kind of they made the film so much better. Like I like the actor that can step on set and not just read the lines, but kind of like question. One is question the verbiage, right? Like, yo, if it feels unnatural to you, I want you to let me know. As a director, I want you to like let me know what you think comes most natural to you, so that when you actually perform on, in front of the camera, it doesn't look forced or sound forced. So my favorite actors are the ones that can improvise on the spot. Like, yes, there is a script, but you don't always have to follow the script. We have those directors that are extremely strict and like they stick to the script. They stick to the number of takes they want. I'm not like that. I'm always looking for the best performance. I don't care how many takes it'll take. I don't care if we have to change the script a little bit. But I like to listen to my actors, and I think that's important as a director, right? But then it's also important to fight back for the scenes that you need to fight back for, right? Because maybe some scenes like you need it to go a specific way, and if they're not hitting it, then you kind of have to learn to get them there. You have to get them there, right? Because at the end of the day, this is your story, and For as important as that scene may be, if it needs to happen, it needs to happen, right? So it's just being able to be a little aggressive when you need to, but also, again, being empathetic and kind of opening up the floor. I think always can help, tell your story a little better. So,
Yeah, of course, it's like a give and take kind of
yeah,
dance thing where you
yeah,
need to gain people's trust
yeah,
so they
yeah.
know that you have an actual vision
Mm-hmm.
and plan how to get there, but
Mm.
also you give them exactly what they need to click to get there, which is
Mm.
something I think I learned a lot of that because I acted a lot.
Mm. Mm.
I did a lot of theater
Mm.
and like small plays and bigger
I know that. I know
plays.
you acted.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
started acting when I was like 4.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and
So you
I
were an actor before you were a camera, like
yeah,
a. I
well,
see it though. Yeah.
yeah.
Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
I started with acting and then I started directing the plays,
Mm.
and then
As an actor. All right.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Dope. Dope.
And then I was like into cameras and all that. So when I was like a teenager, 15, 16, that's when I started learning like how to play with cameras and computers and
Mm.
all of that. So then I just mixed the two. But I come
Mm.
from working in acting and emotion and
Mm.
like
Mm.
all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually, I mean, that is very, very attractive and like addictive.
Mm-hmm.
But also like I love images and cameras and lighting and
Mm.
like that is so, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's not that
So
like it, man. Yeah.
mixing the two, that's when like I just could do that forever,
Yeah. 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 Fair.
but
Fair.
working with actors is very difficult. Have
Yeah.
you had any like challenging moments that was like extremely hard to get someone to like perform the way you needed it for the movie?
Try to think. There's one specific case in this short film I was working on in New York, um, where it was the mother was supposed to be grieving the loss of her son, but like the just like her grieving just it didn't feel like she actually lost the son. Like there was a lot missing. So it almost took like a therapy session to get her to the correct emotional state to finally be able to deliver the emotion, the real emotion that we were looking for.
Did you use memories? Did you had her go back to
Yeah,
memories?
we just I'm like kind of took her out of her like comfort zone. Like, yo, just like forget we're on set, forget we're filming a movie or whatever. Like, and I'm sorry I'm gonna do this to you. I'm gonna put you in a dark space, but like think about like your saddest memory right now. And she was like, why would I do that? I'm like, well, I don't. I need you to be really upset right now. Like I need you to be really sad right now. I need to feel the pain of a mother that just lost her son in this short film right now. And like I tried to just like, and I pulled her aside like to have this conversation. So it was just me and her talking. So eventually she stood quiet and she was like, okay. And she went to the bathroom, and I guess in the bathroom she took a while. She was like in there for like 20-25 minutes, but when she came out she was like, okay, I'm ready to roll. And she delivered her best performance in that last take. I mean, that's what it takes sometimes. Sometimes you have to pull out the emotions out of people in ways that you might not feel are like the best ways. But that's how you make an actor, man. You gotta unfortunately test the boundaries of what they can take, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I had the fortune of also meeting this who I was telling you that I met earlier, this journalist. I got invited to this screening. I won't talk too much about the screening, but there is a scene, and thankfully I sit next to the journalist. The journalist was actually a part of the entire production in Mexico, and he started to tell us a story of how one of the actors, this kid, they couldn't get him to cry, and the main actor, whose name I won't mention just for NDA reasons, he like basically told the director, he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna go off on this kid right now. Don't stop me." And this was like 10 takes in. And like the kid looks at this actor as like a god. Like this is like someone he looks up to, someone that he really wants to work with. But apparently the way that this actor yelled at him, like it really made him feel some type of way. Like he started crying on the spot, and right away the director's like, "All right, it's time to roll." So they got their shot like right on the spot. but it took like 10 takes, you know. And so sometimes you have to challenge kind of the norms of ethics in on set in order to get what you want. And so yeah, as a director, that's probably one of the hardest things, man. It's just like when you're not getting what you want, it's just like learning how to like to be a psychologist, so to speak, right? And bring out not the worst, but bring out some of those dark memories for some people, for sure, man.
Yeah, there's nothing more powerful than like being able to create a space where those emotions come out,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get to capture that on camera,
Yeah.
and then on the edit, and then you add the music, and then you put this shot with this shot, and like you're manufacturing a new reality.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that I think is the most like addictive part of like telling a story and making a movie. I
Mm-hmm.
remember I had a short that the whole story was this girl that dies and goes through like the afterlife,
Mm.
and then she gets to go back and relive memories before she moves on to like whatever the afterlife is.
Mm.
And we created some like scenes where she goes back and she's like having these flashbacks, and like the actress that I had was Erin Owenby. This was like a
Mm.
very long time ago.
Mm.
She was incredible. Like I didn't have to pull anything out of her, anything like difficult like that. She was like
Mm.
on the spot. She connected with the emotion and delivered.
Mm.
But then I remember editing, like I started crying. Like when I found the
Mm.
right song to put to those scenes,
Mm.
and then I just thought, like I was making the movie. I had worked on the script with the writer, shot it, editing. This was like 2 months after we had shot it, and
Mm.
I was still there, like sitting and just crying by like the emotion that that creates.
Mm.
So I think that's the beautiful thing about what we do, and that's why like
Mm.
we keep, even though this is so freaking hard,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
keep going after it, even working on any kind of job and doing whatever we have to do for money so we can get those little moments where you get to create something.
Mm.
So if you could do anything and money was not a problem and like time was not an issue, what would you make?
Oof, what a loaded question. I really want to bring my dad's story to life. My dad's story is, I mean, both my dad and my mom, they both have such a unique upbringing. I mean, they both deserve their own movies, but I want to focus on my dad's story a little more. My dad fought in the Civil War. The reason he ended up joining the Civil War, my parents are from El Salvador. My dad joined the Civil War in the 80s. This was shortly after his father had been assassinated. He did that off the strength of vengeance. He wasn't necessarily going to defend whatever side he was on. He just wanted a gun. He wanted a gun to find the dude that did that to my grandfather. Um, and eventually he heard that the person that killed my grandfather migrated to San Francisco for the first time. So that's when he started his like kind of journey to America, searching for the dude that did this to his dad. Um, Never found him. And when he got to San Francisco, he just got in trouble a bunch. Got caught with drugs, got deported, came back, got caught with guns, trafficking guns. Spent a year in jail. This is in the 80s. So in the 80s, it was a lot more lenient and easier to just get deported. So after he got caught that second time with guns, he got deported. He spent a year in jail, then got deported. Having kids intermittently back and forth. She's the most loyal person I can think of. She was like all my siblings, full siblings, half of them born in El Salvador, half of them born in the States. I was only raised with one of them, really. I met the other three. I'm the last of five, so I met the other three when I was 8. They're full siblings. And I'm the youngest of 5. So, I mean, that just kind of gives you like a brief understanding of like the shit my dad had to go through to get to where he had to go, to get. I'm thankful to be not only his last child, but the child that got to go to Princeton University, after he was the landscaper for X amount of years. I mean, he never thought he would have a son, hit a school like that, go to a school like that. He thought it was for rich folks, so
You made it happen.
I made it happen. So I mean, we definitely have an American dream story. We have so much to share with the world, and I do want to tell my dad's story in the most beautiful way possible, and that'll be on a big screen someday, man.
How did your dad feel when you got into school?
You know, my dad's an emotionless human being, so
Emotionless?
yeah, emotionless. Like he doesn't show much, but he was like, wow, good, good. But then through word of mouth, through my uncles and aunts, like whenever he would have a couple of drinks, he would like really go off about how proud he was of me, and it's great. It's great to hear. I wish he said it to me though, like in my face, because I think it would I think fill me with a different sense of joy versus hearing it from other people. So, but I know he's happy. I know he's proud, and I just want to continue to make him and mom proud. So that's why we came to LA. It sucks to be far from them, and I miss my home cooked meals. I miss their tender love, and I miss getting yelled at. So, but ultimately, I'm here pursuing this dream for them, and again, it's to someday be able to tell our stories, because we have some stories to tell, man.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, bro.
Appreciate you, man.
I'm looking forward to seeing all those stories and seeing you grow and like everything that you're doing. So, and I appreciate
Absolutely.
your friendship, and
I appreciate your
everything that
friendship,
you
bro.
do.
Axel, you are one of the realists in the game, bro.
That's right.
You one of the realists. I'm so glad that you're basically the first film person I met outside of my like connections, in LA already. So the fact that we're still here riding strong, and like we got lots of plans, and I'm excited, bro. I'm really excited to build with you, man. You the man, bro. I love you so much, bro.
Love you too, bro. We're gonna make it happen.
Hell yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you can, send it to a friend, and we'll see you on the next one.